Hello again. The position in front of us requires white to deliver checkmate in 4 moves. I recently uploaded a video where I sort of criticised Friedrich Chlubna for his harsh treatment of a composer's problem, and I think it's come back to haunt me because recently I looked at one of Friedrich Chlubna's problems, and here it is in front of you now, and it's by no means straightforward. It gave me a lot of trouble. It took me a couple of days to solve it. Now, a clue in one's means to solve this is you must remember that this rook is pinned here. So most people would say, well, it's essential in that case that we don't allow this bishop to be taken and unpin it. You would think so, wouldn't you? But it is necessary to allow the black rook to become unpinned. Now that seems totally illogical, but it's the only way to deliver checkmate in 4 moves in this position. So just keep that in mind for a moment. Anyone who thinks that bishop f6, which is to be played here, covering this square and threatening knight e7, is the solution. It isn't. To be sure, the 4th move, bishop d6, is here. And then white could try this, with the idea of playing knight e7 anyway. Bishop takes e7, rook f4 mate. However, he scuppered with this move, and he'd have no option, white, but to take that rook, and it would extend it from a mate in 4 to a mate in 5. So that is no good. So it's a pity about that, but I persisted for some considerable time with that idea, and I wasted a lot of time there. But it just looked as though it must be bishop f6, but it's not. So you can play around with it to your heart's content, but you will discover that it's not a mate in 4. There's no way that you can do it, even if you don't play e3. So let's just make sure that we have the original position back there. Yes, we do. Can you see the key move? I don't think the key move is that difficult to find. It's the moves that follow, because you need to understand the strategy of this particular problem. This is where Friedrich Chlubna has composed out of himself. He was a brilliant composer, harsh criticism of the others' work notwithstanding, and this is a really fine effort. Just take a good look at it and see if you can spot the key move. Okay, well, let's put ourselves out of our misery. This was my second choice. And it took me as long as it did to solve this because I persisted with bishop f6, which was a bit of a mistake. And so I've learnt something from that. What we're doing here, can you see? With bishop f6 we were covering e5 so we could play knight e7. Here we're covering this square so that we can play, that's right, e4 checkmate. So the problem that is set for black here is we must stop that pawn from going to e4. Now there are 2 variations here, and they're both with this knight. Either knight to here or knight to here. Let's look at knight c5 first. So that's one move, bishop g5, threatening e4, knight c5. We must allow black's rook to become unpinned in order to solve this. You cannot do it any other way. Can you see the next move for white? Right, well, it's rook d5 check. Now, the rook is pinned at the moment. Black has 2 moves. He can move the bishop in the way, and then rook e5 will be checkmate. Or he can move here. I think this is a forced move in order to extend it to 4 moves. So how does white finish this off in 2 more moves? And the sequence has to be absolutely spot on. The sequence is giving black no time, check. Now in this position, black is forced to play rook takes f6. And can you see how white mates at that point? That's right again. Rook to d4. And if you check all the squares and pieces and that, everything is covered. There was no way out for black in that position. So that's variation 1. unpinning. Now what about variation 2? We have to allow the black rook to be unpinned yet again. Is it the same sequence of moves or is it different? Just make sure that we have the original position correct. We do. Well, it's a different sequence. Again, the key move is bishop g5. We've seen knight c5 does not work. What about here? Now, it's to be noted that it can't be the same because when the knight was here, the rook was blocked, so we were able to play rook d5. Now that the knight is here, the rook is covering the 5th rank. So what do we do instead? Well, if you recall, when I started this video, I mentioned bishop f6 with the idea of playing knight e7. Well, this is our move now. They come in handy. The rook, of course, cannot take because the bishop is pinning the rook at this moment. So, therefore, it follows that black's move is forced, and he comes here. King e4 last time, king e5 this time. So, what does white do here? Can you see it? His rook is all prise. It looks a bit precarious for white. And given that he's wanting to checkmate in 2 more moves. Okay, well, bishop f6 check, and the rook cannot be touched, and the king can't move anywhere. But, as pointed out earlier, the rook is unpinned. So, of course, the rook is at liberty to take on f6. That's a forced move. What happens now? How does white finish it? He brings his knight back from whence it came, delivering check, covering the rook, and checkmate. That is a wonderful problem. And my apologies to Friedrich Chlubna. Nothing personal intended, just the way that I feel about it, but he has excelled himself on this one and on many others. And thank you very much indeed for watching, and goodbye for now.